Dandavad Pranam, everyone. Today we are doing a live session with His Holiness Indradyumna Maharaj, and we are very grateful to Radharani and Krishna. Maharaj is taking his precious time out. We all know that he is doing a yatra in Sridham Vrindavan. So, yes, today's topic is like adventures in Krishna consciousness. So, thank you everyone for joining us today. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Dandavad Pranam Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Maharaj, thank you for removing precious time, your valuable precious time. We all know that you're doing a yatra in Sridham Vrindavan, and thank you for joining us today. Today's topic is about adventures in Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
So, yes, and today is the auspicious day of Bahulashtami. If you allow, can you just share the pastime of Shri Radha Kund, and we'll start our live with that.
Of course. Well, first of all, I'd like to offer my respects to our audience. Thank them for joining us this evening.
Hare Krishna. Yes. Hare Krishna, Dandavad Pranam Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Well, thank you, Radhika. First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me onto your very prestigious program. I've been watching a few times, and I'm very impressed that there are many wonderful personalities, wonderful devotees who have spoken on this program, and I'm honored to be here here in Melbourne this evening. And of course, this evening is a celebration of the creation of Radha Kund and Shama Kund. As we know from our Vaishnava scriptures, Vrindavan is the most holy place in the universe, or you could say the creation, because Swami Bhagavan, Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, personally and well, there's many pastimes, and the deepest pastimes, you could say, the most confidential pastimes, the most loving pastimes are between the divine couple of Radha and Krishna. And both of them have their most sacred places, which are Radha Kund and Shama Kund. They're two, you could say, small lakes or even ponds, just within the confines of Vrindavan. And Radha Kund is considered the most sacred because it's Srimati Radharani's bathing tank. It's said that one who bathes in Radha Kund will get the same love that Radha has for Krishna, and one who bathes in Shama Kund will get the same love that Shyam has for Radha. So knowing this, well, devotees go there often to bathe in a respectful way in both of those kunds. The Brajabasis are bathing there regularly. Actually, it's an honor, it's a privilege to go there. The Shastras say that even great devatas like Brahma or Shiva or Indra, they don't have the qualification for going to such a sacred place. They visit there very rarely. But on the invitation of our beloved Srila Prabhupada, who himself is a Brajabasi, he's invited us to take bath there as often as possible because it's so purifying. It's such an honor to bathe in Radharani's personal bathing tank. So today is the celebration of the creation of Radhakund 5,000 years ago. So many, many pilgrims go tonight. I've been there before, some years before, but it's getting so crowded now. It's like literally 10, 20,000 people trying to bathe in a small pond. So I just sent some of my students out there at the auspicious hour. I think it's around midnight when the lake was created. I asked them to bring a little cup of Radhakund water back, and I bathed that in the morning. So that's a summary.
Very well. So yes, first, I would like to say thank you for removing some time from the yatra you're doing in Sri Ram Vrindavan. I hope the yatra is going good. How is the yatra going, Maharaj?
It's going very well. We have devotees from 16 different countries with me. We have about 420 devotees with me, and we're visiting different holy places around Vrindavan. We go out early in the morning and we'll go to Radhakund or Shyamakund, or we'll go to Varshana, we'll go to Govardhan Hill. We'll sit down, we'll have a bhajan in the beautiful environment. Then we'll have a talk on that holy place, and we'll have breakfast, have another kirtan, walk around. We're usually back by the afternoon, but we're doing this for a full month. Actually, tomorrow we're going to Jaipur for a few days, and we're going to Kurukshetra as well. So we're including some other spots. But for many devotees, this is their first time here. We have devotees from all over the world, and just taking him as I've been doing for many years on Vrindavan.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. So, Maharaj, we would like to start by asking you this question: that our soul, we have to see divinity in everyone and everything. Like everything is coming from the Lord, and that's why the soul doesn't have any color. And today is the need to tell the youth about spirituality or spreading Krishna consciousness, and how important it is that we need to hear about Radharani and Krishna as it purifies ourselves and it being because as the soul doesn't have any caste, color, and creed, so it doesn't matter where you're coming from. So Krishna consciousness is important for everyone, and why it is that we have the need right now to spread spirituality or Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada has come from the divine loka, and he has spread a wonderful, wonderful mission all over the world. So please say a few words about this.
I remember in the 1970s, George Harrison of the Beatles, he was a devotee of sorts. He met our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. He was very attached to him and his teachings, and he went quite deep into our philosophy. Actually, some of his songs reflect the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, although many people don't know that. But he said one time, I was present, he said, everyone's a devotee of Krishna, some know it and some don't. So that's a bold statement, to say everyone's a devotee of Krishna, some know it and some don't. But to put it in more simpler terms, it means everyone's a devotee of God, some realize it and some don't. Our constitutional position is actually servants of God, all of us, whether you call God Allah or Buddha or Krishna or Yahweh. There's only one God, but he has many different names. I often give the example of the sun. There's only one sun, but as I travel around the world, I hear people call the sun different names in different languages. El Sole, La Sole, the sun. In Poland they say Swansea. So it's one sun with different names. So God is one. Now the beauty of the Bhagavad Gita is it goes quite deep into the philosophy of spirituality. And there, in the 14th chapter, in the 4th verse, Krishna says it should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. So people believe in God, but our Vedic culture reveals who God is, what he looks like, where he lives, or his associates, etc., etc. So Krishna is saying he's the seed-giving father of all living entities. So if we all have the same father, that means we're brothers and sisters. If you have the same father as someone else, then you're either a brother or a sister. So if God's the creator of all living entities, his name is Krishna, at least here in India, then that means we're all brothers and sisters. So this is actually a peace formula, because the bodily concept of life means that, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm black, I'm white, I'm yellow, I'm American, I'm Russian, I'm German, I'm French. No, the first step in the science of self-realization is to understand I'm not the body. I mean, before we go into the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, what is Vrindavan, we have to first go to, basic school. So I'm not the body. I'm the spiritual force within the body. I'm the spark of life within the body. I'm the Atman. I'm the soul. And that's my real identity. We have a body today and we may not have it tomorrow. That's just the cruel nature of this world. We have all these different bodies. And since we left the spiritual world, we've been traveling through different universes, through different species of life, through different bodies. We've had so many bodies. But the soul is a constant factor. So that soul is a spiritual person. And that's our real identity. We have to have this education has to go on in society if we want peace in the world. We all have something in common, and that is that we're all spirit souls. Of course, there's the variety as well. Variety is the spice of life. We have different countries, different customs, different colors, etc. That's very nice. But in essence, we're all part of one family. And that's the realization of the sages of India. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision. A learned and gentle Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. So this takes some practice. You have to purify your heart, you have to purify your vision, and then you'll see everyone equally. You won't see yourself as superior or inferior to anyone. You'll see all spirit souls equally, all one family. Now, sometimes in families, there's a little, argument between brothers and sisters, but there's no war. So to stop war and strife and hatred, etc. in society, we have to have this vision that Krishna gives in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj. And it's very true that we all were we're still a part of one family, we're coming from Golok and we are just, interconnected because we are parcels of Krishna. And, that's beautifully said that you said that, everyone has to see divinity in each other and we have to see Krishna's presence. It's not that easy, but we have to do that by chanting and purifying ourselves and taking the journey of spirituality.
With
So
knowledge, we can do it with knowledge, actually. And I stress the point, the first step in the science of realization and self-realization is to understand I'm not the body.
yeah.
Often in my public lectures, I point out to people that the body, one doctor told me, the body is 72% water. So are we a bag of water? Are we something more profound? We're something more profound with the soul. And if you go, the real adventure, because you talked about it, the theme is adventure in Krishna consciousness. So that there's two types of adventure. Everyone likes adventure stories. So the first adventure is to go within and discover who you are. The soul's eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. The body is temporary, full of ignorance and suffering. So what do we want to focus on? And our spiritual master said the soul is more brilliant than 10,000 suns rising simultaneously. So to go within with knowledge from books like, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, or especially for us, the Bhagavad Gita, you can actually really understand who we really are and live a life of reality, live a life as a spirit soul, a devotee of God. And the other adventure is taking that knowledge all over the world and sharing it with people. And that's what I've been doing for 52 years. I joined this movement when I was 19 or 20. I'm a 75-year-old man now. But my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, he gave me an instruction one time. He had sent me to France to help another devotee start the movement in France, or at least help with initial devotees who were there. I was a little nervous because I was a young man and I didn't speak a word of French. I'd never been outside of America. So Prabhupada called me to his room in London on my way to France, and he leaned over his desk one time and he said, Indradyumna, I want you to preach boldly and have faith in the holy names. So this is the instruction I got from my spiritual master. I never felt qualified, but I heard one time that along with the instruction of the spiritual master comes the ability to fulfill it. So taking that instruction to heart, I've been to, I think, 3/4 of the countries on this planet. I've seen people in diverse ways of life, different philosophies, different habits, different ways of life. But I always see them in a spiritual way, that they're part of the same family because they're spirit souls, they're not the bodies. So you need this knowledge to begin with. We are not the bodies. Like when you talk about the body, you don't say I hand, I arm, I head, I body. You say my hand, my arm, my body. Who's the me? That's the soul. And when we're enlightened about the soul, we can see each other with this vision of equality. Otherwise, it's not possible. What do we have in common? It's not our color of our skin, our hair, our language, our birth. What we have in common is that we're all created by Krishna. So this is more than just, a yoga movement where we do asanas and we practice, a little bit of meditation. It's meant to create a revolution in society by giving people real knowledge who we are and how we can cooperate, live together, and love one another.
Yeah, and His Holiness Radha Maharaj says that we love Krishna, we'll automatically love everyone. Because if we see Krishna's presence, we will automatically, our anarthas, will not react in a certain way. We'll become more kind and if we see divinity in someone. And like you said, Maharaj, spirit soul is um, it's um, it's divine. So it's like the quality, it's similar to Krishna's quality, but very less in quantity.
Exactly.
We're just a so very, very nicely said, and thank you for sharing this with us. Nextly, I want to ask Maharaj that you've also written a book on adventures of a traveling monk, and it's launched, and we would really want to hear what is it about, and can you share a few adventures, like magical adventures? Because when Krishna enters our lives, we see hand of God in every situation, because Krishna, when we surrender to him, when we depend completely on him, Krishna then, takes, of course, there are many tests we have to go through. He always tests his devotees. And if we keep passing the test, if we keep choosing Krishna over Maya Devi and keep going ahead, then I'm sure that Krishna comes and he's there for everyone. So can you please share about your adventures and about one of the incidents from the book?
Well, this is the book. This is a good chance to advertise my book. Thank you. This is my book. It's called Adventures of a Traveling Monk. It's actually available on Amazon, all in India and all over the world, actually. And, I keep a diary when I travel. Well, for the last 15 years, I've kept a diary when I travel. And each year, that diary is published in the form of a book. So there's many, many chapters over, 15 years. So wanting to present my adventures to the general public who may not know so much about, some of the words that we have in Sanskrit, like yoga, or, Surya Bhagavan, or Indradev, or whatever. My disciples went through those 15 volumes and they chose the best chapters that the general public may be able to relate to. And in my writings, I also, not just like a travel log, but I try to see the world through the eyes of Bhagavad Gita. So actually reading a chapter in this book is like reading a chapter of Bhagavad Gita in a travel form, travel log, so you can get the idea, the impression of what Krishna is saying. And how many chapters are there? There's something like 25 chapters here. So yes, this is my sharing of Krishna consciousness with the world. There's that saying that if you have something nice and you have it in abundance, you should share it with others. So I feel the most precious gift that we can share with the world, again, is transcendental knowledge, how to expedite ourselves from the repetition of birth and death, from samsara, and go back to the spiritual world. It's described that the material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So as I travel around, I try to enlighten people with the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. I give a process. I share a process with them that's in the Vedic scriptures, how to become enlightened. Basically, our methodology is chanting Hare Krishna. Ma means mind and tra means to deliver. So a mantra is a sound vibration that purifies our heart and awakens the dormant love of God that's already there. I often say, love of God is not something that you get somewhere else. You have to purchase it or borrow it or beg for it. It's already in your heart. Like a golden seed is there in your heart. And it simply has to be watered to germinate. Like you take a seed somewhere, it can be sitting on the shelf in a store for 30 years, nothing happens. But you take that seed, you plant it in the ground and you water it, it begins to grow. So that love of God that's there within everyone's heart, not only humans, but all species of life. Of course, they can't awaken it because they're in an ignorant form of life, but human beings can. So that process of watering is chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I introduce this in places where people have very little knowledge of philosophy or spiritual culture. I remember one time I was in an airport, I think it was in Chicago, and I was standing there getting ready to board my flight, and some ruffians came and they wanted to push me around and so forth and so on. I was just very humble. I said, Hare Krishna, I'm a monk. So the person who was standing nearby was their boss, and he told the boys to stop. And then he came over to me. He said, you seem like a gentleman. I want to apologize that my voice did this to you, and so forth and so on. And, can we sit down and have a talk? So I said, sure. And he took me to the first class lounge for that particular airline, and we had a talk. And it turns out he was a big mafia boss from Sicily. And he was doing whatever he does. And so he said to me, if you ever need any protection, you're anywhere in the world, you just call me and I'll send my boys there and I'll protect you. I've seen you guys on the street chanting Hare Krishna. I've seen you give out your food. I heard that your religion is called the kitchen religion because you distribute so much food to poor people all over the world. So please forgive my boys for messing with you. Here's my number. You memorize it, then you burn it, throw it away. Nobody else should get this number. And he said, if you ever have any trouble, anywhere in America, Italy, Europe, you just call and I'll send my boys there and they'll protect you because I can see you people are doing good work. You're giving the knowledge we need to hear. You're giving the food we need to eat. And you're setting a good example by being gentlemen. Like for him, it was like sadhu. So stories like this, they enlighten people. They show us that, we have to go out and share this knowledge with others. We have to be tolerant. Perhaps they're not so receptive. And we should know that this is a lot of people will accept this message and appreciate it for what it is. So, yeah,
Right.
Adventures of a Traveling Monk on Amazon.
Would love to about it. We'll definitely, all of us will definitely read the book, Maharaj. And like you said, like, this human birth is given to us for a higher purpose, and, to understand these things, as unfortunately other bodies, we won't be able to connect or understand what's Atma, what's Paramatma, what's the connection between the soul and the super soul. So, right, like you said, I used to always think when I was young, oh, if we are most the most best species, then what is so special in us? The fish can, breathe underwater. We can't do that. The birds can fly. But once we realize, we come into Krishna consciousness, we understand that the consciousness which we have is the most important thing. Or, connecting with God is what we can only do when we are given this human body. And through 84 lakh species, we go through it, and we get this boon to, even the demigods, they want this body so that they chant the name of Radharani and Krishna, go back home to Golok. So
Yeah.
very nicely said, Maharaj, that we all need to, take this sincerely, because it's already like 5,000 years in Kali Yuga, and we we need to like take it seriously, because it's just going to be more for 5,000 years, and then,
That's true. Well, Vedanta Sutra, which is, it's like a summary of all Vedic knowledge, Vedanta Sutra, the very first verse is Atato Brahma Jignasya. Now that you've arrived through transmigration of the soul, so through reincarnation, at the human form of life, now is the time for self-realization. I mean, we have other duties as well. We can't be naive. We have, our families, we have our bodies, our families, our countries, our environment. We have to be all concerned. But our ultimate responsibility is to awaken our dormant love for Krishna, for God. And for that, Krishna has given us intelligence. The most foolish person is more intelligent than the most intelligent animal. So this is God's gift to us, actually. God gives a gift, Krishna gives a gift to every species of life. Like you say, birds can fly. We can't fly. If we want to fly, we have to work hard, buy an airline ticket. Fish can live under the water. We have to use scuba tanks. Butterflies are always beautiful. They don't have to put their makeup on and take it off. So what did God give us? He gave us buddhi. It means intelligence. And with that intelligence, everyone can ask the most essential questions of life. Who am I? Where have I come from? I want to be happy in this world, but I'm suffering. Let's be honest. What happens after death? Does God exist? So in my traveling, I've seen that most people at some point in their life, they have a spiritual awakening. It may be in youth, but that's the best, because you use your life properly. It may be in middle age as a result of some tragedy. It may be in old age, because soon you're going to have to leave. So what's after death? Everyone has a spiritual awakening. And the sages, the sadhus of India, they speak very strongly. Sadhu means one who cuts your material attachments by his strong words. The sadhus say that human form of life actually begins when you start asking questions. Where have I come from? Who am I? What happens at death? Otherwise, our lives are we're living like animals, but in a more polished way. Eating, sleeping, mating, fighting. So human life begins when you start asking those questions. So sometimes I joke in public lectures. I say, how long have you been inquiring about spiritual life? Oh, Maharaj, just last month, you're 1 month old. What? Another person. I started inquiring about spiritual life after the death of my grandmother 3 years ago. So you're 3 years old. That's the value of human life. It's so important. Chanakya Pandit says you can't gain 1 second of the human form of life back for all the gold in the world, because we have this precious opportunity to do the adventure, to go within and discover something most wonderful, who I actually am, and even more wonderful, who is Krishna, who is God, and even more wonderful than that, what is my intimate relationship with him? And this is the beauty of our Vedic culture in India, with all due respect to other spiritual traditions, to other religions. In the West, because I was born in the West, if you ask someone who is God, he's God. Can you give me some more information? He lives up there. Anything else? That's all I know. That's all I was taught. But my point is, religion or spirituality means to awaken our love for God. So how can you love someone you know nothing about? Why did you choose this person as your husband or your wife? Because the way they look, the way they dress, the way they talk, the way they walk, little details. So the beauty of our Vedic culture here in India, again, with all due respect to other spiritual traditions, is we actually know who God is. We know his name, Krishna. We know how he dresses. We know his favorite instrument, the flute. We know his great devotees like Shiva or Ganesh, Lakshmi. We know all these things. So because we have all this information about God, we can truly awaken our love for him. And when you have that connection with God, a sincere connection with God, the beauty of this the beauty of this world just fades away, like a television program goes off the screen. It just fades away, and you're just totally absorbed in samadhi, thinking of the personality of God. And if you die like that, because death could come at any moment, if you die thinking of God, you go to God. You go to where your heart takes you. So this Vedic culture, especially this Hare Krishna movement, has so much to offer the world. We're not just singing and dancing on the streets, selling books, and building temples. We're giving people knowledge, and that knowledge is there in the Bhagavad Gita. So I encourage your audience to get a copy of Bhagavad Gita, especially Bhagavad Gita as it is, by our spiritual masters, Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. If you want some light reading, go on Amazon and get The Adventures of a Traveling Monk.
Yes, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
And and every soul is already connected to Krishna, like you said, and we have somewhere lost that activation within us because of the wrong use of our free will since many births. And that's the thing, like when we become Krishna conscious, Krishna gives us the decision making power to choose right and wrong, and to at least follow four regulative principles, not stop living like animals, like you said. Like there won't be if we start living like animals and not follow four regulative principles, there's no difference between the other species in us.
Exactly.
But the principles and the disciplines and some shastras are very important to imbibe. Restrictions are very important to follow, because and that's how a human being should live.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's said there is no difference between an animal body and a human life, because they do
Well,
the same.
I think my experience is I've met the rich and the famous and the well-to-do, the 1%, and they always tell me, whether I'm in America or Canada or I'm in South Africa or Ethiopia or China, they always say to me, Maharaj, I have everything, but something's missing. I have all the money I have all the honor I could have. I have servants, I have, companies all over the world. I have manufacturers. I'm missing. What am I missing? I said, you're missing love, because love is the highest happiness. It's more precious than money or gold or fame, I say. And I've seen in this world that if a person has everything but doesn't have someone to love, they can't be happy.
Yes.
Whereas I've seen in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro, the townships of South Africa, in Mongolia, the steppes, I saw the people living in yurts, tents, and freezing cold. I've seen that if you have nothing, but you have someone to love, you can be happy. So love is what everyone's looking for. We have to be quite frank. Love is what people, but the cruel nature of this world, this temporary world, is that love is also temporary. As much as you're attached to something, if you lose it, you feel the pain. So love in this world ultimately brings pain, I have to say, because we all have to depart this world. Either we depart or others depart, and we lose them. So where do we find that love that we're all looking for? That actually that's what the soul's looking for. The soul's looking for love. That love is with God, with Krishna, because that love is eternal. In the spiritual world, there's no birth, there's no disease, there's no old age, there's no death. Just as Krishna has an eternal youthful form, we as spirit souls also have an eternal youthful form as his servants, and our relationship with him goes on ad infinitum, a loving relationship. So this is the perfect formula for happiness, how to overcome grief and sorrow and tragedy, to connect with the original source of love, the original source of happiness, which is Krishna. That the word religion comes from the Latin verb regulio, which means to reconnect. And yoga has the same meaning. It means to reconnect. We've forgotten Krishna, but he never forgot us. And he's, according to Bhagavad Gita, he's coming once in a day of Brahma, knocking on our doors. Sarvadharma parichaja, mamikam saradam vraja. All Hindus know that verse. So at least a certain portion of our life, because we, again, take care of the body, work, have career, have, society, but put aside time to reestablish that lot, like the plug comes out of the wall, there's no more light. So you're busy, plug it back in and get back to work. Find some way to be connected with God, with Krishna, so that that matures to the point where you can go back to the spiritual world, because the visa back to the spiritual world is prema, or love for God. And again, we're very busy in this world. How do we have time to connect? I have to go to school. I have to work. I have so many problems. So Krishna's made it very easy in this age, how to reestablish that lost connection and be lovers of God. It's through chanting his name. Namachintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. The mystery, the magic is that although God's very far away, out of his kindness, he's present in that sound vibration. He's present in the sound of his name. If you say Hare Krishna, Krishna is dancing on the tip of your tongue. So this is a very easy formula for reestablishing our relationship with Krishna. It's the recommended process, actually, for self-realization in this age. Specifically this mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I've been chanting it for 52 years, at least 4 or 5 hours every day. So either I'm a crazy person, or I've come across something that's very, very amazing, very wonderful, very satisfying, and that is the case. So I recommend your audience, if they haven't yet chanted Hare Krishna, they should start. They should visit a local temple, ISKCON temple. They're all over the world. They're all over India, and reignite or reestablish that lost relationship by chanting Hare Krishna, having the association of sadhus, saintly persons. They're not all in the Himalayas. They're in the big cities now, because you've got devotees singing Hare Krishna and speaking Bhagavad Gita. So my humble request to the audience is inquire from us and learn more.
Yes.
And become happy.
Yes. Yeah, yes, Maharaj. Like you said, stop running about, behind temporary things. I guess material things are, going to stop somewhere. These are the boons which we have got from our previous life karma, the opulence we get. And if we don't use it for the right thing and for the right purpose, or for serving Krishna, it's just going to go in vain. And the next birth, again, we don't know, first of all, if we'll get human body. And if we do, by Krishna's mercy, we have to start over again. But the only thing which continues is Harinam, spiritual journey. You won't start that from the scratch. How much ever Radha Nam, Krishna Ram you've taken, it will continue. So those bhakti coins it's like permanently stored, rather than the material coins.
Exactly.
So
Material happiness, well, we have to have some comfort in life. If we don't have some comfort, we'll be restless. We won't have time for spiritual life. So there's some comfort there, but we should understand it's like rainwater when it falls on the lotus flower. It's just there for a moment, and then it slides away. So we're looking for happiness, but it's here, and then it's gone, it's here, and then it's gone. Real happiness is actually within the soul. And I'll tell you a little story. We have time. Last year I was in Rishikesh, which is on the foothills of the Himalayas. I was sitting in a beautiful wooded area in the mountains there, a little pasture. And all of a sudden, a deer, a male deer, came into the pasturing grounds and started running around eccentrically, like running in circles and tripping over rocks and bumping into trees. And I was sitting with some sadhu. I said, "What's this deer doing?" He said, "Maharaj, it's a musk deer, and this is the mating season. So during the mating season, the musketeer, from his navel comes that scent, that musk scent, because there's little granules of musk inside the navel of the deer. The yogis used to go in and take those little granules out with a silver spoon. Nowadays, people kill that deer, which is really unfortunate, but that's a whole nother story. But he was running around, and the musk scent comes from his navel, but he's an animal. He doesn't know that. So he's looking for that scent. He's running around here and there. Where is that beautiful aroma coming from? Running here and bumping into and falling. He doesn't know it's coming from within himself. It's not something external. That beauty, that aroma is coming from him himself, but he's an animal. He can't understand. So we're almost animalistic in the sense we don't know. We're running around looking for happiness, for sense gratification. All you have to do is look within. Look to the soul. You know, the soul, the intrinsic nature of the soul, like the intrinsic nature of water, it's wet. The intrinsic nature of salt, it's salty. The intrinsic nature of sugar, it's sweet. So the intrinsic nature of the soul is to be happy. So if we want to be happy, we have to go within, connect with Krishna. He's the reservoir of all happiness. It's such a simple formula, people may just pass it by. Oh, really? Well, what's happening in the world today? What about the news? What about the economy? Okay, but what about you, the real you, not the temporary body here today and gone tomorrow? What's going to happen to you when you die? If you're not self-realized, to come back again, to come back again and go through the whole process again and again and again. So take advantage of the human form of life. Make some inquiry, start chanting this mantra, read Bhagavad Gita, and you'll see an immediate change within 1 or 2 weeks. I promise you.
Yes, yes. Yes, Maharaj. And of course, we have seen, Kali Yuga is all about Nama, and chanting Hare Krishna. But there are many devotees. We have deities at our house. Beautiful, beautiful deities. And we've seen your deities as well, Maharaj. They are beautiful. The Lord Nama. And so can you tell us, along with Nam Japa, the most important thing you keep in mind while we are serving or we are, worshipping our deities? What is the most important thing we should keep in our mind?
Well, first of all, what is it? Because, we may have persons who don't worship deities listening in, or we may have Westerners listening in. It may seem a little strange to be worshiping a deity, I was raised in the Christian faith, and we were told, not to worship idols. But our understanding is that God is in the spiritual world, but he's also present everywhere by his energies. He's omniscient, God. So by his mercy, he can appear in the form of a deity if he so desires. He can appear in the form of a deity. And there's a authorized process for installing a deity of Krishna or Ram or Shiva. The pujari or the mahant or the saint, he requests the Lord to come into that material form, so-called material form, and be present. Because God is very far away. I mean, he's so far away, we couldn't, even with the most powerful computer, we couldn't imagine how far away he is. But out of his kindness, he appears before us in a very personal way, as the deity. There's a beautiful verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, my dear Lord, you are not a statue. You're directly the son of Maharaj Nanda. So the Lord can turn spirit into matter and matter into spirit if he so chooses. So it's an authorized process in our Vedic scriptures. So devotees, they like to worship the deity because it's all practice. Because when you get back to the spiritual world, what do? You just sit there and meditate. Om. You just become one with the energy? No. You associate with God in a very pure spiritual way. You can wake Krishna up. You can bathe him. You can dress him. You can feed him. He's controlled by the love of his devotees. This is Vrindavan talk, actually, Vrindavan talk. So devotees, by worshiping a form of the Lord here, like Krishna, as Tribhanga Sundar with his flute, and his divine court consort, Srimati Radharani, by practicing serving them in this world, we become purified, so that when we get back to the spiritual world, We can serve them in a more spontaneous, deeper, loving way. So in the process of deity worship, there's a lot of rules and regulations. But I always say the most important rule in deity worship is to always remember the deity is a person. He's fully conscious. I mean, if God's everywhere, he can be wherever he wants to be. Sometimes my Christian friends, they joke with me, you're idol worshipers. You worship God in material form and in matter. And I say, look, I know the Bible. I grew up with the Bible. And in the Bible, we hear how um, God appeared to Moses in the form of a burning bush. Actually, he spoke. Those of you who are Christians, you know what I'm talking about. God appeared to Moses in the form of a burning bush and gave him wisdom, gave him knowledge for his mission. So I say, if we're idol worshipers, bush worshipers, but neither of us are bush worshipers or idol worshipers because God's present everywhere. And he comes in the form of the deity to receive our love, a loving relationship there. We see him as a person, we're conscious, we're very careful in dealing with him. So my advice to those who have deities is to always remember fully conscious. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead and treat him as such. Prabhupada, our spiritual master, has given us lots of rules and regulations for worshiping the deity. And if one can't have personal deities at home, one can participate in deity worship by going to a local temple because the priests are there to serve the deities because you're busy at school or work. But when they're offering the artik, it's not the priest who's just benefiting. He's offering it on behalf of the audience. So he's offering a flower to Krishna. He's offering a lamp to Krishna. He's offering water. He's doing it on your behalf. So meditate on that as it's going on. If you meditate on this beautiful form of Krishna day in and day out, through chanting his holy name, through seeing his deity form, through associating with his devotees, then you may even well dream about Krishna at night. And if you can be awake and think of Krishna and dream of it at night, there's every chance that when you leave this body, you can remember Krishna. And that's important because Krishna says, yam yam vapi smaram bhavam. Whatever mentality you have at the moment of death, and we're cultivating a mentality by our work in the mode of ignorance, our work in the mode of passion, our work in the mode of goodness, or in transcendence, that we'll think of something like that in the mode of ignorance or passion when we die, but we don't want to do that because that'll bring us back to the world. We want to think of Krishna. So if you practice in your life thinking of Krishna, when death comes, you'll think of what is most dear to you. I've been on the battlefield. I've seen people who have died, and they're calling out to mother, or they're calling out to their dog, or we want to call out to Krishna. So it takes practice. Practice makes perfect. So we have to find time. We can all be sadhus. It's not just I'm a traveling sannyasi. I know sadhus here in Vrindavan with long beards and white hair, and they're chanting and praying, and we emulate them. Oh, I'd like to be like that. You can be a businessman, you can be a student, you can be a professor, you can be a dentist. You can also be saintly if you practice some of these techniques in your life, because we have to work. Be honest, we have to work. Everyone has to work. But we have to at least half of our life or 3/4 of our life, we're cultivating this devotional spirit. And then when we die, we don't have to be a dentist again, a doctor again, a carpenter again. We'll be with Krishna in the spiritual world. So
Right.
practice makes perfect.
Perfect. So yeah, it's like practicing. Hopefully, it's practicing in this life when hopefully we'll go and get our constitutional position back, and then we all will.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
Maharaj, very true what you said. And yeah, lastly, I would want to hear about Narasimhadev's unheard story, which we always end with a pastime of the Lord. And if you can share a small pastime of Lord Narasimha, because we've always heard few of them, which is about the pillar and how the Lord appeared on this planet. But apart from that, if you know any pastime of the Lord which you can share, and because hearing about God purifies
In
ourselves.
my occupation, I should know those things.
Yeah.
That's what I share with the world. That's what I share in my book here, these wonderful adventures of Krishna. So this is the pastimes that's there in our ancient Vedic scriptures that, when the boys go to school, it's called Gurukula. Gurukula means they go to learn under the guidance of the spiritual teacher, the spiritual master. They learn mathematics, they learn reading, they learn writing, but they also learn spiritual things as well. They learn how to cook for the Lord, they learn mantras, they learn philosophy, they learn deity worship. So in this particular true story, I feel it's a true story, this boy, he reached the age of, I think, 17 or 18, and it was time for him to leave the Gurukul and go out into the big bad world. He'd been protected by living with his guru on the banks of the Ganges, taking bath in Ganga Ma every day, chanting mantras, and now he has to go out into the world. He's a young man. He has to go find a wife and get a career and have a family and be part. So he was a little nervous because he'd never been outside the ashram. So there was a temple in the ashram with the beautiful deity of Krishna, beautiful deity, Turibanga Sundar Krishna, eyes just to his ears, lips red like bimba fruit, 3 lines here, bent in 3 places, long black keshava hair, shining very beautifully. So the little boy, he went to the deity and he prayed to the deity. It's the way to communicate with God. You can pray. Obviously, he can hear you if you're sincere. If you're just praying for money or a good job, it's not necessarily you can expect him to reciprocate. He wants you to love him and you to love him and him to love you. So he prayed, Krishna, I'm leaving the Gurukul. I'm going out into the world. I'm a little scared, which is a good perception of this world. I'm a little scared. He said, how am I going to do? How am I going to go out there? I don't know what I'm going to meet, what the good, the bad, and the ugly. What's going to happen to me? Please, Krishna, help. So he was such a pure soul, the deity spoke to him. There's many instances in our Vedic culture where deities speak to the pure souls, the sadhus, so many. So the deity said to him, it's all right. I'll be with you all the time. I'll go with you. I know your heart. You're a pure soul. So you don't worry. I'll be with you. Um, I'll be with you the whole way. So the boy said, well, what do you mean? Are you going to walk off the altar? And he said, no. I'll always be with you. I'll be by your side. And the boy said, well, you'll be walking. The Lord said, no. You can always know I'm with you when you look to the right and you'll see 2 other, your footprints will be in the sand and my footprints will be in the sand. That's how you know I'm there. I won't be there like you're seeing me now, but you can see my footprints in the sand. So the boy said, thank you, Lord. Next day, he left the ashram and he went out into the city. And as he was walking along, lo and behold, he looked, and there were 2 foot, here a footprint, there a footprint, here a there. And he looked back, and a long line of footprints behind him, nothing in front. He's thinking, the Lord is walking with me. So he went through life like that. Can you imagine? He went through life like that. He was always feeling self-assured and, he was always good, following all morals. If you serve Dharma, Dharma will serve you. He was a very dharmic boy. But sometimes, as we all experience, there's tragedies in life. This is a world of duality, let's be honest. More than what the billboards are saying or, the movies are saying. Life's tough and then you die. That's the real story, to be real. So it's a world of duality. There's up and down, black and white, boy and girl, yes and no, happiness, and there's distress. And sometimes distress comes with a big knock on the chin. We have hurricanes, we have war, we have COVID, we have just life's throwing so many things at us, right? So when those things happen, whenever a tragedy happened, the footprints disappeared. He's thinking, Krishna promised me that he would stay with me throughout my life. But whenever I come in contact with some difficulty, some tragedy, I just see 2 footprints in the sand. Where is God? Like people say sometimes. Where is God? There's so much suffering in the world. Well, you came here. He didn't invite you here. You came here of your own. But the boy was always, why? What is this?
But he persevered on, but he always had this doubt in his mind. When times got hard, there was only 2 footprints. Where was Krishna? Eventually he made it back to the spiritual world. He was a real chanter of the holy name. Raghupati Raghava Raja Raman, Patita Pavana Sitaram. Jai Sri Ram.
Right.
Our child now, everybody go, Jai Sri Ram now. Jai Sri Radhe, Hare Krishna. So by his devotional service, by his chanting of mantras, by his study of Gita, he made it. He made it back to the spiritual world. And when he got there, the Lord was there to greet him in his full majesty, in his full beauty, in his beautiful form as a cowherd boy in Sri Vrindavan Dham. And the Lord embraced him. And then he said, welcome back. And he said, well, I'm glad to be back, Lord, but you know, when I was young, you remember my last birth when I was leaving the Gurukul? I went to the temple and I prayed to you. Yeah, I remember. I'm ever present in my deity form. I remember. Well, Lord, you said that you would always be with me. And to substantiate that, you said that I could always look and your footprints would be on the right there. And it was like that, Lord. Wherever I went. But whenever there was difficulty, there was tragedy, there was some horrible thing, you abandoned me because there was only 2 feet. So what happened, Lord? So Krishna smiled and said, my little boy, you have to understand. Whenever there was tragedy, I picked you up, put you on my shoulders, and carried you through the troubled waters. Whatever the difficulty was, you were on my shoulders. You're my devotee. Rake Krishna Mari Ke, Mari Krishna Rake Ke. If Krishna wants to kill you, no one can save you. And if Krishna wants to save you, no one can kill you. He's our protector. He protects his devotees because the devotees are doing his work, like Brahmins. Brahmins are protected because they're like the mouth of God, speaking the Vedas. So Krishna said, whenever there was a difficulty, I put you on my shoulders. So when you look down, you were looking at my feet in the sand. My feet were making the imprints. And whenever times got good, back there. So this is a nice story. It's not a story, it's actually a pastime. We should never think that the glories of the Lord are some exaggeration. It's something, material life is ordinary, spiritual life is extraordinary. And as soon as one enters into that world of spirituality, by singing Hare Krishna, or any name of God you may know him by giving up the vices of this world, like we're vegetarian, no meat, fish, or eggs, we don't take any intoxication, there's no sex outside of marriage, there's no gambling. People say, oh, how can you be happy without those things? I say, well, you can be happy by giving those things up because they're not good for the body, mind, or soul. And you can be perfectly happy within by singing Hare Krishna and studying Bhagavad Gita. So if we live a pure life, then we can experience these little miracles. Not that miracles just happened 2,000 years ago or in the Puranas. There can be miracles in our life as well. We can become detached from this world. We can be attached to Krishna. We can be saved. There's a beautiful verse in Rupa Goswami's Pad Yavali. My dear Lord, I'm drowning in this fathomless whirlpool of material existence. O you who give shelter to the shelterless, please, just this one time, Krishna, extend your hand to save me. Does that mean that God reaches into the world and pulls you out? No, he gives you the association of sadhus. He gives you a guru. He gives you a mantra. He gives you a way of life. That's the way we go back home to God.
Thank you, Maharaj. And beautifully said. We just request everyone, whoever has attended this live, and later on they will listen to this live, to start their spiritual journeys as soon as possible. And that material and spiritual life, material life can become spiritual. It's just about your consciousness and certain principles. You know,
Exactly.
says His Holiness Ranath Maharaj says, Guru Maharaj says that a smile given in the right consciousness can also be a service to Krishna. So even if, like you said, Maharaj, like even if you're doctors or engineers, just if you see the consciousness, if you see Krishna's presence in that person and you're serving him, helping him by doing some deal or cracking some deal or helping, saving his life, it can also be a service to Krishna, and that
Exactly.
can become spiritual, you know. So
That's
we
nice.
request everyone to start their journeys, and please do, buy read Maharaj's lovely book, which is Adventures of a Traveling Monk. And thank you, Maharaj, for taking out little your precious time for all of us today. And yes, thank you
Well,
for joining us.
Radhika, you're a good speaker yourself. It was like 50-50 today. You spoke very well, and I've been watching your other sessions. I think next time, and I'll take your position, you take mine, I'll interview you, and you can enlighten the audience. How's that? You're so good.
Oh my
It's been a pleasure.
God.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to send you a free copy.
Maharaj.
I'll
Just
sign it.
thank you so much, Maharaj. Just give me your most little blessings if I can help in Srila Prabhupada's mission,
Okay.
and to please my Guru Maharaj and please you for everyone.
And my deep thanks and love and blessings to everyone in your audience. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Pranam.
Thank you.